Hi, I'm Eric Johnson at Vanderbilt's Owen Graduate School of Management, and I'm here with Coulter Winn. Coulter is a design studio executive with Walt Disney Imagineering, and he's here visiting the school for the day.
It's great to be here, Eric.
Well, the toy industry is a close cousin to you guys, and I know industry executives worry there a lot about how much time kids are spending with digital toys and iPads and all these kinds of things. How does that technology impact the way Disney thinks about design experiences?
Well, I think a lot of what we do is about creating overall experiences, and based on the age of our guests, some of the very younger guests, it's basically our experiences are catered to those which are relatively more straightforward. But as you get into older children, then the devices come into play because so many kids now are on their devices at an early age. So do we use the device to extend the experience, or do we try to create an experience without the device? That's always the big question when we start.
Yeah. Well, and that makes me wonder about technology in general. I mean, how is Disney using technology to kind of enhance or create a more immersive experience in the theme parks?
Well, it's everywhere, and without getting too much into detail, one thing would be to say in a queue. So our guests are having longer wait times. So how do we entertain them in a queue? So Seven Dwarfs Mine Coaster ride in Shanghai, for example, there's this sort of jewel, find the jewel, become a part of the dwarves' mine experience, and it's all this projection, and it's very tactile and immersive, and it entertains everybody while you're waiting in line.
I love it.
So that's great.
Well, certainly, I mean, talking about queues and lines, I mean, Disney is famous for really managing the perceptions of their guests about waiting in line and how they feel about that. And one of the things I had heard, you call that scene one sometimes, of the experience. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about that and how that goes into the design of a ride?
Sure. Well, the scene one is really sort of what the guests' expectations are when they enter our attraction, and historically that's been inside the quote show box. But now as the queues get longer, we begin to take some interactions into the queue areas. We begin to build more environments in the queue areas, so you actually go from one environment to another. You could call this sort of mini scenes or preambles to the main event. And a lot of it's about cast member interaction, graphics, the setup, the story, where the attraction occurs in the land physically. And what we call scene by scene through the land would be almost like a cinematographer's look, where you're taking a snapshot and as you go through the land and how that begins to unfold.
And that changes the way people feel about waiting somehow? I mean,
hopefully so, but some of these lines are really long, so we have to work really hard to make sure our guests are entertained. But also we're using technology to reserve wait times in lines now. With Rise of Resistance, our new Star Wars attraction in Disneyland in Florida, you reserve your times in the queue online. You have a specific window when you can get into the queue.
Kind of a new version of Fast Pass?
Exactly.
Are there other secrets that you think about when you think about waiting in line that people can learn from in other businesses?
Nothing that I can really talk about now, because we have to stay ahead of the curve.
Well, what are some of the important differences in managing creative teams? Your life work is creative teams, and I'm guessing there's some things that are really different about managing a creative team.
Well, I spent 25 years actually designing. I'm an architect by trade, so designing and building theme park attractions. And I retired, and then they brought me back to run this group of 5 disciplines: architecture, landscape, interiors, graphics, and theme lighting. So the big job is how do you get these different groups to work together? Put them in a room, and they can work off each other. And managing people is about empowering them, giving them a voice in the process, recognizing them for their contributions, and really creating an environment where they feel like they can achieve their ultimate career potential. And at Disney, we have so many talented individuals in a variety of disciplines. We have 140 different disciplines. There are opportunities to learn across the board. So my job is to make those opportunities to really happen.
And help them have an impact.
Definitely help them have an impact.
Well, certainly one of the things I love about my job is I get to meet lots of really interesting executives like yourself who've had long careers in leading different organizations and different groups. Can you share a lesson in leadership that you've learned along the way?
I guess I've only been in my current job for a year. And so knowing the process is one thing, having a vision of what it could be for everyone else is another. But the lesson I've really learned is, first of all, become a better listener. That's tough.
Yeah.
Because points of view are so widely distributed that listen and then also give everybody an ability to be part of a consensus, build a common vision for the studio, and that's something that's underway, which I'll be talking about later.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for spending the day at Vanderbilt.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to be here.